How about we jump right in with the number one movie over the weekend? And as expected, it was The Jungle Book. The movie that was directed by Jon Favreau, featuring the voices of a lot of famous actors like Scarlett Johansson, Idris Elba, Lupita Nyong'o, Vin Kingsley, Christopher Walken, Bill Murray, etc., etc. So, Disney spared no expenses and probably has to call in a few favors for this movie.
Right, that's why the budget's 175 million, right?
It is, but which is cheap compared to the Batman vs Superman movie, right?
Yeah.
The movie opened to 103 million over the weekend. I think you were saying that, hey, it could do 100 million. I said it'll probably do around typical Disney live action movies without a huge star, which is around 70, but it did at the higher end of the spectrum, 100 million.
So was I saying 110 or was I saying just 100?
I think you were saying 100.
Okay. Whoa, so I was pretty close.
Yep.
Yeah, I think most people were having it at your range, including HSX, which is, tends to be pretty accurate. They have it around your range too. But I think, it goes to show that one of the things with these big event blockbusters is when it's really well reviewed, like The Jungle Book, 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. When it's really well reviewed, they tend to do even better than already high expectations. And, that goes to show that, hey, I think a lot of times with these studios, when one of their films are poorly reviewed, they'll say, hey, reviews don't matter. But they actually do, as we can see from Batman vs Superman, for instance. Even though it opened huge, compared to, like, say, The Avengers, which was really well reviewed, it didn't do as well. And with The Jungle Book, again, most people in the industry, like you, were expecting an opening of somewhere in the 70 million range, but with such great reviews, it ended up shattering those expectations and opened at nearly 104 million.
Yeah, I have to say that even if it did 70, it's still great and awesome opening.
Right.
But this one blew that estimates out of the water, and it performed well above what people were thinking that it would do. The only other movie, the live action movie that did that was Alice in Wonderland with Johnny Depp, and he was a big star back then.
At the time, he was fresh from the Pirates of the Caribbean films, and it's also Alice in Wonderland also followed that 3D craze fresh from Avatar. So it had all that built into it.
Yeah, and then The Jungle Book just, the follow-ups, right? Like Oz, The Great and Powerful, Maleficent, Cinderella, all those live action movies did about 70 to nearly 80 million. This is just The Jungle Book. It's not anchored by any huge actors.
Yeah, right.
They found some relatively unknown kid, and made him the star. And then, the star in the movie, in The Jungle Book, is really the CGI, the technology, the animals coming to life, voiced by famous actors.
Right. So apparently people weren't scared off by, these. Remember last week you mentioned how the fact that it's live action, that it does look kind of scary and it might frighten off little kids. With the trailer, I had that feeling too. I'm like, whoa, these live action, because they look so real, can be scary. But I guess parents weren't scared off by it enough to not bring their kids along.
Well, I guess their kids pester them and say, hey, I want to watch The Jungle Book instead of I'm afraid of The Jungle Book.
Yeah, right.
So I read that this is a quote-unquote a 4-quadrant film, meaning that it appealed to all demographics. So that's why it's so successful. It doesn't appeal just to the family audience. It doesn't just appeal to the kids. It doesn't just appeal to teens or, middle-aged people. It appeals to all groups.
Right. At 94% is one of the better review films of the year so far.